Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have Becca's Bookopoly round 18. So if you guys are unfamiliar with Bookopoly, if this is the first video you have ever seen from me, Bookopoly is the TBR game that I play every single month. We roll the dice, we land on certain prompts around the board, and I pick a book that fits that prompt to add to my TBR for the month. If you would like to get acquainted with the rules of the game and also see a tour of the board, I will link January's Bookopoly up here for you guys to check out. But as I said, this is round 18, so I will also put the full Bookopoly playlist in my description box. So in the month of May, I slumped hard. You won't really be able to tell from my wrap up because I did still manage to read quite a lot of books. However, they were all very small. My attention has just not been with reading throughout the last month, so I am a little bit scared for June. Normally in this portion of the video we talk about my hopes for my TBR for the coming month. However, because I was slumping so hard in May, the beginning of June is just going to be full of read along books and things like that I just did not read in May. That being said, there is a couple of readathons that I will be participating in June. The first one is the Make Your Mythtaker Readathon, which has been created by the hosts of Mythtaker, one of which is my good friend Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction, and the other one is Charlotte, who is over on Twitter. So the aim of the Make Your Mythtaker Readathon is to build a fictional fantasy character. I have got just a little bit dressed up for the part in this video. I will be going for 4 paths because you guys know how extra I am. I can't make a decision to save my life, and I do have to get all of my Bookopoly books and all of my read-along books, etc. into some sort of concise TBR somehow. So Ashley has actually created for me my own personal graphic with all 4 of the paths on. I will overlay this over the screen so that you guys can see it. But the 4 paths I'm going for are Fairy, Assassin, Witch, and Monarch. Now, because we have to do Bookopoly as well, the way that this video is going to work is that I'm going to do my Bookopoly rolls as normal, and then at the end of this video I will be talking you through 2 of the paths that I'm taking for Make Your Mythtaker. As per the rules of the readathon, you do only have to declare 1 path before the start of the readathon, and then after that you can pretty much do as you please. However, one of the paths in this readathon is mainly comprised of books that I have to read for various read-alongs, so I thought I may as well declare that TBR because I literally do have to read those books. Make Your Mythtaker does take place across the entirety of the month of June. It's a month-long read-along, and I will of course link Ashley's announcement video in my description box if you would like to check that out and get involved. It's a whole ton of fun. Like I said, I dressed up a little bit. Do I look like a fairy, a queen, an assassin, or a witch? I don't think I do, but this is all I had. This is the only thing that I could do to make myself look a little bit fantasy, which is actually quite surprising, you know, because I've been living the emo life for a long time and my favorite color is black, but I could not pull an assassin outfit together. I will also low-key be participating in Detectathon in the month of June. That is a 2-week-long readathon that takes place over the middle 2 weeks of June, and that one is created by Molly from Mind of Molly. I'm going to be using the books from my existing TBR to fit the Detectathon prompts because they are quite vague. I will not be disclosing an official TBR for that. It will kind of just happen over the course of my vlogs during those 2 weeks, and I will of course also link Molly's announcement video down in my description box if you would like to check that one out. So moving on with this video, starting out with the 6 books that Bookopoly decided that I should read in May. They were The Girl in the Toe by Catherine Arden, which was for a community chess card, Burn by Patrick Ness, which was a young adult fantasy, Lifelike by Jay Kristoff, which was a science fiction, King of Sword and Sky by C.L. Wilson, which was a fantasy romance, King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, which was for the prompt for fans of, and Malamander by Thomas Taylor, which was a friend pick. Out of these 6 books, I have completed 4 of them. The 2 that I have not yet completed are King of Sword and Sky and King of Scars. Apparently, I don't like King books, but by the end of the month, I will have completed King of Scars. I'm around the page 350-400 mark at the moment, and King of Sword and Sky, I'm currently on page 150, but by the time we get to the end of the month, I estimate I'm going to be around page 300. So there will not be a punishment for May's Bookopoly because, as decreed by the rules, I am allowed to carry over part of 1 book if I have started it in the month and just have like 100 pages or so left. And now that all that is out of the way, let us get into our first roll of June. So last month we ended on friend pick. First roll, 6, a chance card. Oh no. The Start of Me and You by Emery Lord. So straight away we landed on a chance card, which just puts a spanner in the works right at the beginning of the month. I feel like this is happening more and more frequently these days. If you guys are unaware, my chance cards are a mix of 8 books that I'm really excited to read and 8 books that I've lost a little bit of interest in since I acquired them. So this month's chance pick was The Start of Me and You by Emery Lord. Sadly, this is one of the books I have lost interest in since I acquired it. My friend picked this up for me really cheap about 2 or 3 years ago now, I think, and I do believe that I've included this in a video I posted recently called These Books Will Self-Destruct in 12 Months. So the reason that I'm not too into this anymore is that it is a straight up young adult contemporary. I do still read a little bit of adult contemporary and I do really like contemporary romance. However, straight young adult contemporary does not interest me too much anymore unless it deals with something really hard hitting. So from what I can gather, The Start of Me and You is about a girl whose boyfriend died in a swimming accident a year previous to the start of this story. Since that day, she hasn't really been living, but she has now decided that it's time for her to put herself back out into the world again. So she makes a plan which includes a list of things that she would like to do, and along the course of this novel she does meet a boy who I'm assuming teaches her how to live again. Like I said, not super excited about this, but it is only around 350 pages and young adult contemporaries are normally pretty quick reads, so I'm not too worried about this one. Second roll. 5. A graphic novel or a manga. So for roll number 2, we landed on graphic novel or manga, which is absolutely perfect because by the end of this video you are going to have seen quite a few chunky fantasy books, so it's nice to have something a little bit smaller. So in June I am going to be reading Rat Queens Volume 3 Demons by Curtis J. Weeb. This was recently gifted to me for my birthday, however I don't know who gifted it to me, so if you did send me this then please let me know so that I can thank you properly. This is the 3rd bind up of the Rat Queens comic, which is an adult fantasy comic series that follows 4 boozy battle maidens for hire. This story starts out when they have started yet another bar fight, and to get out of jail they have to perform a couple of quests for the city. I did really love the 2 previous installments of this series, but I've been a little bit hesitant about moving forward because the art style does start to change around this 3rd volume. The reason that they replaced the original artist that they were working with is completely valid and I 100% support that. However, just personal preference, the art style is not really my favourite going forward. I believe it's not too different in this volume, but when you get a little bit later into the series it does start to take on a little bit more of a watercolour style, which is just really not to my personal taste. Roll number 3. 5 again. A young adult fantasy. So roll number 3 was a young adult fantasy, and for this I am going to be reading an art copy of The Court of Miracles by Kester Grant. I have been approved to review this on NetGalley. I believe that the release date for the ebook is the 4th of June, but the hardback release has been pushed back to the 18th. Now I didn't actually realise I'd been approved to read this, and by the time I had it was a little bit too late for me to read it for the June 4th deadline, but I am aiming to read and review this before the 18th of June when the hardback is released. So this is a young adult fantasy that has had a huge marketing push behind it. There are tons of arcs out there for this book. It has an absolutely stunning cover, it's really beautiful, and there's a lot of buzz about it online. The plot of this I'm not super familiar with, but I do believe it is a historical fantasy. It's set in France. I think it's around the turn of the 19th century, and it is a Les Miserables retelling, I believe. The main character is called Nina, and that is an alternate version of Eponine, and then there is also a alternate version of Cassette in here as well. Honestly, cannot tell you whether it is a straight retelling or whether it's kind of a story that runs alongside the narrative or Les Miserables, but hopefully by the time I've read and reviewed this I will be able to let you guys know. Roll number 4. 9. A book inspired by myth, lore, or legend. So for roll number 4, we landed on read a book inspired by myth, lore, or legend. Now this is a prompt that has not come up before. It was a new one that was added for 2020. So I thought that while I'm participating in a readathon called Make Your Mythtaker that is created by a book club called Mythtake, one half of which who is my friend Ashley, who is known for being the queen of myth on BookTube, and also while the first prompt for one of the paths that I will be taking is friend pick, why not call Ashley and have her pick a book for me. Now I am going to FaceTime her in just a moment, however I would like to make a few predictions about what she's going to pick while we're here. Now she knows that there is a particular book that I want her to pick very, very badly that would fit this prompt perfectly, and it would be the book that I would choose if I was fulfilling this prompt. However, she does not know what that book is, so I'm really interested to see if she is going to pick it. But the book in question is Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden, which is the 3rd book in the Winter Night trilogy. It's a historical fantasy set in medieval medieval Russia and is very heavily inspired by Russian folklore, so it would definitely fit the prompt. However, there are at least 2 other books that I own, but I think Ashley might pick. The first one being A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This is a children's fantasy story that once again is heavily inspired by Russian folklore. Ashley recently read this and gave it 5 stars, so I think she may pick this one for me. And the last one I'm not too sure about, because that is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is one of Ashley's favourite books ever and she really wants me to read it. This is inspired by Egyptian mythology, I believe. However, I do not know to what extent it is inspired by Egyptian mythology, so I'm not sure whether it would quite fit the prompt, but if it does, I think there is a good chance that Ashley's going to pick it. But now that we have made our predictions, it's time to give her a call. Hey!
There we go.
How you doing?
Okay, look at you, you're all shiny.
I know, right? Like, I turned my ring light on and my highlight just popped. Your prompt is, as you know, a book that's inspired by myth, lore, or legend. I have told the video which one I want you to pick, and I've also told them 2 that I think that you might pick, but one I'm not sure. Like, I think it's inspired by something, but I'm not sure to what extent, so I don't know whether it would count.
I really don't think I'm gonna pick the one that you want, and I also don't know which ones you predicted. And the one I've chosen, I don't even know if it's entirely fit in the prompt. I would say so. I'm gonna make you read Never Contented Things.
That is not even slightly what I predicted. Oh my god, I don't even know where it is. I'm just gonna go get it. Okay, so this is the book that Ashley's picked for me. Let me just swap my arms around. Why have you picked this one?
It's about fairies, which is the plot, and it's dark, really dark apparently. And also I'm intrigued about it, so I'm gonna make you read it first.
I thought, because you said there's something that you wanted me to read, I thought you were gonna try and pick that Jennifer L. Armentrout one that I just got. I didn't know like any inspiration of that. I don't know what it's about, really.
I don't really know too much about it, so I was like, will it count for the prompt? I don't know.
I'm trying to find the other books.
This book is gonna be something that I'm like, oh, I should have chosen that.
The one that I really wanted you to pick was Winter of the Witch.
I was tempted to, that was my other option.
But I can fit it in for the woodland prompt or whatever path that's on, the fairy one. The one that I thought you were going to pick was A Sprinkle of Sorcery.
No, I'm not too bothered.
Fair enough. It's not even a sprinkle of sorcery, it's a pinch of magic. And the one that I thought you might pick, but I wasn't sure how, like, the extent to which it was inspired is City of Brass.
Oh, that's very inspired.
Yeah, see, I thought it was inspired by Egyptian mythology, but I don't really know too much about it, and I don't know a lot about Egyptian mythology, so I couldn't say, like, how inspired it is.
It's a retelling of 1001 Nights, maybe? Some kind of mythology, and it's also set in 18th century Cairo, so would do the 3 part.
Apparently, I'm reading Never Contented Things because it's about fairies.
Because fairies and dark things.
Okay, cool. And it's not too long, so I should be alright at least.
Well, enjoy your very dark story about...
I will. And I'm gonna go back to filming my video, but thank you very much for picking a book for me. And I will talk to you later. Bye. So the book that I actually picked for me is literally not even slightly what I expected, and it is Never Contented Things by Sarah Porter. This is a book that I kind of added to my TBR based on Ashley's recommendation, but she saw Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts, added it to her Goodreads want to read list, and looked into it and thought that I would be interested in it, and Ashley is also interested in it. This book was also very recently gifted to me by Brit from Basically Brit for my birthday, so thank you so much for sending this to me, Brit. I'm not super familiar with the plot of this, but I do believe, as Ashley said, that it is quite dark and it does contain fairies. So we have foster siblings in here, and I believe that they are kidnapped by a fairy called Prince and his courtiers and taken to the fairy court where they must escape. Now this does have quite low reviews on Goodreads, but I do like really dark books. I'm okay with things that are a little bit twisted or a little bit taboo. The thing that I'm not sure that I like about this is that because it's portrayed in quite a dark manner, I'm not sure what the fairies are going to be like, because I really like it when the fairies are the heroes of the story or are the good guys or the desirable people, and I'm not sure what light they're going to be painted in this book. But I guess we'll find out, because Never Contented Things is added to my June TBR, and thank you so much, Ashley, for selecting this for me. I really did not expect this at all. Maybe our final roll number 5. 9 again. Smut. So roll number 5 is actually going to be my final roll for June. Can you believe it? We didn't roll a double. I can't remember the last time that happened. And And rule number 5, you know, Bookopoly has been a little bit kind to me, but she's going out with a bang because we have landed on smut. And honestly, I had to ask around a little bit to discover what book I was going to read for this, because as somebody who is quite new to reading romance or books that are more romance centered, I don't really know where the line is between smutty romance and actual smut. So the book that I have chosen to fulfill this prompt, I do believe is actually a smutty romance as opposed to straight up smut, and that is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. Earlier on in the year, I did post a video that was a TBR of authors that I'm very interested in reading from because more than one of their work appeals to me, and Penelope Douglas was on that list. As well as that, Birthday Girl has been recommended to me numerous times, most recently by Kelsey, the author of Fortuna Swan, which is my current favourite dark smutty fae romance. So Birthday Girl, I believe, is an age gap romance, and it takes place between a 19-year-old girl and a 30-something-year-old guy. I believe that he takes her in because she has nowhere else to go and they become increasingly drawn to each other. However, not only is there quite a large age gap between them, but he is also her boyfriend's father. That is all I know about this, but I am excited to give it a try. I've been wanting to read more new adult romance. This one is very highly rated and has also been recommended to me personally. So that is it for my Bookopoly rolls for the month. So now into my Make Your Mythtaker TBR. I am planning on taking 4 of the paths, which is 11 books in total, because 2 of them are from the same group, so there's one prompt that I don't have to fulfill twice. The paths that I'm taking are Assassin, Witch, Monarch, and Fairy. I think the order I will be completing them in is Witch, Assassin, Fairy, then Monarch. And today I am going to be declaring my TBR first for the Witch path and then for the Assassin path. So the first prompt on the Witch path is to read a book featuring an animal, and for that I'm going to be reading Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. I have a live show for this on the 7th of June. I haven't started it. How many pages do we have here? Holy moly. 750. Wow, I thought it was only about 600. I need to get a wriggle on with this. So this is the second book in the Farseer trilogy. It is my book club's book for the months of April and May. And as I said, our live show is going to be on the 7th of June at 8 PM BST on Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction channel. This is an adult epic fantasy series that follows a young man called Fitz, who is the bastard of a prince. Now, when he's quite young, he is deposited at the castle as his maternal grandfather no longer wants anything to do with him, so he is now to return to his father. However, by the time he gets to the keep where his father resides, his father has abdicated his throne and moved to the country, so now nobody really knows what to do with Fitz. But as he is kind of high birth and looks a lot like his father, but is still also lowborn as he's a bastard and not officially part of the royal family, the king decides to turn Fitz into an assassin because he is able to walk the line between the common people and nobility. It's a very slow-moving, character-driven, coming-of-age style fantasy, and I'm excited to see what happens in the second book because we do have a Discord for the book club and a lot of people are really upset about what happens in this book, so I don't know if I'm ready, but I need to read it in like a week. The second prompt on the Witch path is also the second prompt on the Fairy path, so this will be the prompt that I don't have to complete twice, and for this I'm going to be choosing a Bookopoly book, and that is The Court of Miracles by Kester Grant. As I mentioned, I do need to review that by the 18th of June, so it's a good job it's going to be my second read of the month. The third prompt is to read a book with a magical battle, and for that I'm going to be reading The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Mistborn series. I read the first book in April, absolutely loved it, second favourite book of the year, so good. This is once again the second book in an adult epic high fantasy series. This one is a little bit more modern in tone, and we follow a man called Kelsier who is putting together a group of people to overthrow the final empire. There is a really great magic system in here that consists of ingesting and using metal to manifest certain magical abilities. We also have a female main character in here called Vin, who I absolutely love, and the first book did include a whole ton of really badass, really cinematic magic battles, so I don't doubt that The Well of Ascension is going to do exactly the same. And then the fourth prompt on this path is to read a book with occult themes. So I'm doing something stupid here. My fourth book of the month is neither going to be a Bookopoly book or a book that I have to read for any sort of read along, but that is The Deck of Omens by Christine Lynn Herman. This one was kindly gifted to me by Linda for my birthday, so thank you so much, Linda, for this. This is a contemporary fantasy that takes place in a small town, I think it's in New York State, and it follows a group of teenagers who are the most recent generation of a group of families that founded this town. Now, the job of the founding families is to hold back the grey, which is this alternate dimension where a beast lives, and each family has a specific type of magic. There are plenty of occult themes in here. It does contain magic. One of the 4 families have oracle powers, universe, and they have various ways of divining the future, and there are a lot of ritualistic themes in here as well, with just the tone of the series, to be fair. This book is the sequel to The Devouring Grey. I believe that this is the last book as well. I think it's only a duology. When I read The Devouring Grey, I really enjoyed it and was surprised by how much I enjoyed it, so I'm really excited to get to the Deck of Omens. So those are my first 4 reads of the month, and I do have to read those in order. However, after this, I can change my TBR in any way that I want to, and I can read whatever I want in any order I want, but I am going to be declaring my path for Assassin. So the first book for the Assassin prompt is a friend pick, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be using Never Consented Things by Sarah Porter, picked for me by Ashley. The second prompt on this path is to read a book with a dark cover, and for that I will be reading the second book in the Books of Earthsea by Ursula K. Gwynn. This epic tome was kindly gifted to me by Linda as well. Thank you once again, Linda, so much. You are too kind to me. I'm currently co-hosting a read-along of the Earthsea series that was created by Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction. The book that we should have read in May was The Tombs of Atuan, which I haven't read yet, so for this prompt I'm going to be reading The Tombs of Atuan, which is 100 pages of this enormous book, and then at some point in the month I am going to have to read the third book. I don't even know what it's called. Okay, so the third book is The Farthest Shore. That is the book that I'm supposed to be reading in June, so I will have to read both of them at some point, but to fulfill this stop on the Assassin path, I will just be reading The Tombs of Atuan. This is a children's / young adult fantasy story. It's a classic fantasy story that follows a young wizard called Ged. He is quite naturally talented with magic, so he is sent to a magic school to hone his abilities, and when he's there he's showing off and he releases this shadow into the world, which he then has to later hunt down. The second book, I believe he's going to go to the Tombs of Atuan to get a piece of jewelry. From what I read in the first book, it pretty much tells you what the Tombs of Atuan is about, but I'm not entirely sure about that. I did enjoy the first book in the series, but I didn't love it, but from what I've seen of Discord, the second book is much better. The third prompt on the Assassin path is to read a secret book. Now what this means is that I cannot tell you what I'm reading for that prompt. While I'm reading it, I can't tell you I'm reading it, and I can't tell you I'm reading it for Mythtaker, but when I'm done, I can let you guys know obviously that it was the book that I used to fulfill that prompt. So you're gonna have to wait and see what that book is, because I'm not allowed to tell you. And the final stop on the Assassin path is to read a quick read, and for that I will be reading Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the Lost by Ashley Herring Blake. This is the group book for Detectathon. As I said earlier, I'm low-key participating in Detectathon. This is a children's contemporary story that follows a girl called Ivy Aberdeen whose house is ripped apart by a tornado, and she has a notebook or a sketch pad where she has been googling things like girls holding hands. In the aftermath of this tornado, she cannot find that book anywhere, and somebody starts posting the pictures into her locker and telling her that she needs to come clean about her feelings and what these drawings mean. As this is the group book for Detectathon, I will be reading it sometime across the 2 middle weeks of the month. This book was also kindly gifted to me by Molly as well, so thank you, Molly, for sending this my way. It isn't my usual thing, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a quick read because it is both a children's book and contemporary. So that is about it for this really long TBR video that probably isn't really long to you, but I think I've been filming for over an hour now. If you would like to see the rest of the books I am going to be reading for the Make Your Mythtaker Readathon and also Detectathon, then please remember that you can tune into my weekly vlogs where I will be letting you know as I'm going how I'm doing and all of that jazz. But that is about it finally for my June TBR, so please let me know in the comments if you guys are participating in the Make Your Mythtaker Readathon and what your character is. Please also don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to. If you head into my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today, guys. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.